Welcome, everybody. Today is Thursday, January 26th, 2023. Welcome to you if you're joining us from the YouTube channel. I know we have a bunch of people who do that, and we're always happy to have you guys watch the show, watch the chat in your own time. So today, Jennifer Jewiss has joined us. She's going to be our co-host, and she's going to do a book review, which is something I love to do. We only seem to do it once or twice a year. So if you're ever interested in giving a presentation on anything independent consulting or doing a book review like Jennifer is today, we would love to have you. We're talking about designing and leading life-changing workshops. I know I do my share of workshops, and a lot of us do it as some of the work that we do in addition to our evaluation consulting. So I'm looking forward to it. Jennifer, take it over. Welcome.
All right. Thank you, Matt. And how's the audio on your end? Too high, too low? Good. All right. Please jump in at any point if there are any issues or anything I need to do differently. So hello, everybody. I am delighted to have this turnout for this topic. And as Matt was saying, yes, workshops are something that I think it's safe to say that most, if not all of us do, and I will look forward to hearing more about the types of workshops you all do and some of the questions that you run into, issues, ideas. What are some of the things that have worked for you? What are some of the examples? What are things that resonate as you hear me share just a few selected excerpts from this book? So as you see here on the title slide, we got a smooch. I saw that. We're a friendly and informal group. We love having the slices of real life here. Pets welcome too. So this is framed as a book chat. So rather than a formal book review, what I'm going to be doing is just sharing with you some of the insights and excerpts that are my favorite pieces, to be perfectly honest. And then what I'd really would like to do is to get into that chat, the back and forth, the discussion, the dialogue with all of you. So here's a little bit of a preview. I'm going to share with you my 3 favorite graphics from the book, shared with generous and enthusiastic permission from the authors. A few of my favorite quotes that they included in the book, and then just a final slide with the website address that's affiliated with the book and includes other resources that they offer, free downloadable PDFs, information about trainings and whatnot. So if you want further information, you'll have the link on where to get that. Before we dive into the content, and oh yes, here we have an eager pet participant who's going to soak all of this in. Matt, remind me after that welcome dog display, when we get into the discussion, remind me that I want to share a workshop related pet issue. So please hold that thought for me. So before we dive into the content, in the spirit of creating chat, reflection, collegial sharing, I'm going to invite you to just take out a piece of paper and your very favorite writing instrument that's in reach, whether that's a pen, pencil, crayon, marker, or if you're somebody who really likes to think aloud, reflect and jot notes or doodle and diagram on a device. Perhaps you've got a separate device that works well for you within reach. So I'm going to ask you, as I share a few of these excerpts, to consider these 3 questions. What resonates with you and your work? What examples come to mind from your own work or other evaluation related work that you're familiar with? And what questions and curiosities does it raise? So these are the questions I'm hoping you will think about, reflect on, jot notes, or doodle about as we go forward. And then your perspectives and experiences can help inform our informal dialogue. in just a few minutes' time. So first up, I love this quote from Parker Palmer that they include in the book. If we want to grow as teachers, and they're talking about the dual role of a facilitator as when you're facilitating a workshop, right? You've got this dual role of teacher and facilitator. So if we want to grow as teachers, we must do something alien to academic, and I would argue traditional evaluation culture. We must talk to each other about our inner lives, risky stuff in a profession that fears the personal and seeks safety in the technical, the distant, the abstract. This philosophy, from my perspective, really is a through line of the work that the authors are sharing in this book. And I will also share with you the confession that I shared with Matt when I said, hey, Matt, you think this topic might be of interest, a book chat on this particular book, is that I did have, I love the party favors, I did have the wonderful opportunity and privilege to spend several days with several of the authors of this book in a 4-day workshop, professional development workshop, based on a portion of the book that they presented in Massachusetts in the fall. So I had been wanting to get some deeper professional development and training in this area because I've had the opportunity to facilitate a lot of workshops, design and facilitate. And I certainly have keenly watched and learned from a lot of really phenomenal, incredibly seasoned, often very well-trained, certified, credentialed facilitators. But this was not a formal part of my professional development and background. So in doing this 4-day workshop, and now I continue to engage with the book, I really appreciate the way in which it's resonating with the sort of work that I do, the sort of workshops that I design and facilitate in collaboration with a wide array of colleagues and organizations. So here's the first of the 3 graphics that I pulled to share with you. This whole, simple Venn diagram, this notion of, whatever our topic is and your own very individual personal / professional story comes together to inform and we all know necessarily shapes who we are, the identity and perspectives that we bring to bear on any given evaluation project and any affiliated or associated workshop that's a part of that. So one of the things that I so appreciate about this book and the work that these authors are doing is they go right there and they invite us into a variety of reflective processes for thinking about why we care about this topic, right? The larger project and the topic at hand in a particular workshop. What lights us up about this, right? What maybe you could draw the dots to some of our passions, our histories, our backgrounds at any point along our lifespan. So this is one of the things that as they are working to help prepare folks like us to enhance their design and delivery of workshops, they consider this to be centrally important and really invite us to spend more time on ourselves and that background so that we can be as clear and effective as possible in terms of thinking about how our own histories, identities, passions inform the work that we do. And especially once we get into that very dynamic environment of a workshop where hopefully you got a lot of participants and energy and a lot of engagement. I sometimes think about this as like an energetic pinball machine, right? If if you're really doing good, deep work in addressing some of the important topics that we all address within the context of our evaluation work, we got a lot of personalities, histories, passions in that room that are all intersecting with us as a facilitator, with what we're trying to achieve, and with the whole pool of participants. So one of the things that I greatly appreciate is they're really not only encouraging us to do this, but supporting us as designers and facilitators of workshops to go deep there so we can be as prepared as possible when we walk in the room, as centered. And there's a lot of value throughout the book on personal self-care, as well as all of the technical, important technical elements of designing and facilitating a workshop. So this whole notion of the intersection and the encouragement to go deep, spend time and energy, revisit this regularly, engage with colleagues in supportive reflection and back and forth to give this a much deeper examination and much more attention than is often allowed or encouraged in some of the academically informed environments that we're in. Now, as some of you know, I come from a qualitative inquiry background. And the doctoral program that I went through was in leadership and policy studies, very progressive approach to leadership. So I feel fortunate. It's not surprising that the author's approach really resonates and I find value in it, because I feel fortunate to have had a lot of that orientation coming out of both the realms of qualitative inquiry and also leadership. That said, I was thrilled to see how much more I could learn and how much deeper I could go with some of the materials that are included in the book, and of course, all the more so in the 4-day workshop. So one piece there. Here's one of the favorite quotes that they really draw on and informs their thinking and approach. David White, some of you may be familiar with his writing, has coined this phrase of crossing the unknown sea. And I don't know about all of you. I'll be really interested to hear in a couple minutes when we get to the interactive chat portion. But I often feel like every single project I do, given that I'm working in very interdisciplinary arenas, often in extremely formative developmental evaluation arenas, that I feel like every single project I do is in one way or another crossing an unknown sea. So this certainly resonated with me. And here's where they went in thinking about applying this concept to workshop design and facilitation. And this slide and another one I'll show you in a bit are pretty complex. There's a lot going on in the graphic. So as I pull up this next one, I'm just going to pause for a minute and let you read and engage with it in your own way. And again, a friendly reminder and request to please pull out that piece of paper or device, jot some notes or doodle based on what comes up for you in those framing questions, right? What resonates, what examples come to mind, and what questions or curiosities does this raise? So that was just a minute, and we can certainly return to this slide later in our discussion. But rather than me talking you through it, I wanted you to get a chance to just read it in your own way at your own pace. So this whole notion, I'll be really curious to hear how this might apply to some of the work that you all do, whether these are in-person workshops or virtual workshops, which we know have an interesting kind of additional or alternative set of dynamics. Another piece I wanted to share with you, I am sure most, if not all of you, are familiar with this African proverb: if you want to travel fast, go alone. If you want to travel far, go together. And, clearly in a workshop, our whole intent is to go together. And one of the ways in which they are, to bring the technical jargon in, the ways in which they're operationalizing this is to really be thinking about what it might take, what we might need to do as designers and facilitators of workshops to enable every single individual in that room to travel together with others in the most meaningful and effective way. So the next slide I'm going to show you is another conceptually complex, rich diagram. And again, I'm going to let you just take a minute to engage with it. And, please do jot notes as you do so. So that was pretty close to a literal minute, and this is another one, given how much is packed in there, that we may be helpful for us to return to. For me, this was really helpful to think about these three categories in terms of the headings that they used. I had always had a sense of like, oh, the opening of a workshop, it's really important that we set the right tone at the outset, and that we attend really carefully to how we do the welcome and introductions. I always knew I wanted it to be engaging and for people to feel like they had a sense of belonging and excitement. I personally hadn't necessarily labeled it as safety, but I think so that's a really important notion for me, right? To ensure that we're creating that psychological safety. And that was always in there, but just sometimes putting a finer point on some of the terminology and approaches has been helpful for me to complement some of the ways in which I was already designing, planning, and facilitating. For example, this, relaxed alertness. I really like that pairing of those two terms. Another thing I personally hadn't thought about was the percentage. Yeah, sure, we all build our workshop agendas and we're being really mindful of the blocks of time. But personally, I had not thought about this in the way of, what's the right percentage of time across these various kind of categories of work that we're doing together, our journey together in a given workshop. Of course, as I would imagine the authors would say, these percentages may vary, of course, in different contexts, in part, for instance, based on how familiar the group is. And I'm sure you all can think of many other variables that come into play. But again, using this as a helpful tool and prompt has been something that I've really taken away and appreciated. So last but not least, as I mentioned, here is the link to the website. They do have a couple of free downloads there. One is this Workshop Leaders Toolkit. These are designed to be companions to the book, but don't require the actual purchase, or last I checked anyway. And then the 7 mistakes workshop leaders make and how to fix them. And another confession here is, as soon as I saw that 7 mistakes workshop leaders make, when I was looking at the possibility of buying the book and attending their in-person professional development workshop, I read this and I thought, oh, again, these are really helpful reminders, categorizations, prompts for me. And I, zipped the link off to my younger brother, who works in a completely different disciplinary area, but does a lot of workshops and trainings. And we both agreed, we're like, whoa, this is really a really helpful complement to how we typically approach the design process. And we just really hadn't seen them articulated and packaged in quite that way before. So I would encourage you, even if you're not interested in investing in the purchase of a whole book, please do, if you like what you've heard in this and facilitate a lot of workshops, check out some of the resources. You can also sign up for their newsletter, but I'd say especially these 2 PDFs are helpful. So again, as I said at the outset, my goal was to not try to download a ton of content on you, but really to highlight and share a few of my favorite excerpts. And now what I'd love to do is hit escape, get out of screen share, and open it up for dialogue and discussion with you all.